Currently, it is 75 degrees here on the campus of Florissant Valley Community College. I'm Jell with your noon news update. Nordstrom Rack is apologizing after 3 young black men were falsely accused of stealing from the Brentwood store. The trio were shopping for prom clothes last week when police were called on a report of several black men shoplifting. Nordstrom Rack leadership reached out to the families of the accused and asked to meet with them. The company said they are enhancing their internal practices and training to help ensure this doesn't happen again. A would-be robber is dead following a shootout during an attempted robbery over the weekend in St. Louis. Police say Frederick Smith and another man shot each other when Smith tried to rob the other Sunday in the 900 block of Switzer Avenue. Smith died later in the hospital. The victim of the robbery was hospitalized and is in stable condition. A St. Louis County tax preparer is admitting to stealing nearly $200,000 from the government. Omar Jaber pleaded guilty yesterday to 2 counts of theft of government funds. Prosecutors say he used the personal information of others to file 2014 and 2015 returns in order to illegally receive tax refunds. Jaber is scheduled to be sentenced in August. And Colton Wong is raising money for his home state of Hawaii. The Cardinals' second baseman has started a GoFundMe page to help those affected by the Kilauea volcanic eruption. Wong grew up 20 miles from Leilani Estates, where lava is flowing on the Big Island. Now, for the weather. Today, it is partly cloudy, high of 82, low of 64, 0% chance of precipitation. I can talk well today. Hello. Tomorrow, though, morning thunderstorms. High of 88, low of 62. That is an 80% chance of precipitation, so you can darn well nearly count on some thunderstorms in the morning. Thursday, we've got evening thunderstorms. High of 86, low of 64. It says only a 40% chance of precipitation, but I could see some thunderstorms. Friday, partly cloudy. High of 88, low of 69. And Saturday, partly cloudy, high of 90, low of 66. So, welcome to summer. That was a short spring. Well, at least we're getting some rain, though. Currently, it is 75 degrees here at KCFV. I'm Jell, and this has been your noon news update. But please stay tuned, because after a short break, we will be back with GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday, except next Tuesday. We'll talk about that. From noon to 3 p.m. We will kick the show off by talking about new video game releases and what anime are in theaters, and then move on to all sorts of crazy video game news. But until then, here is Show Your Teeth by Brooke Royal, here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening. That was What Is Life by LG and Tab here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and welcome to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m., except for next Tuesday. I will be out of town next Tuesday. Got some work I gotta do, and that is unfortunate, but you gotta do what you gotta do. So, let's move on. What are the new game releases for this week, and what are the games coming out next week? Let's start with the PlayStation 4. First of all, we've got on PS4 2MD VR football. Gonna assume that's... Actually, I don't know which kind of football this is. Oh, it looks like that might be American football. Interesting. Good, because we already have a VR soccer game. See, that's one of the important questions when it comes to... Yes, that is American football in VR. That's what's... Okay, that actually looks kind of cool. There are actually some interesting elements to that. But anyway, apparently we've got some VR football now. Moving on, AO International Tennis. Conan Exiles, which if I recall is an MMORPG that's been out for a while, but now it's on PS4. Cool Painter VR, which is a painting game in VR, which might sound boring until you realize, oh, it's crazy 3D painting, and you're painting in midair, and that's super cool. Moving on, Darkest Dungeon Ancestral Edition. Dead Ahead, Zombie Warfare. Death Road to Canada, Destiny 2 Warmind, which is, of course, the newest expansion for Destiny 2. Grim Legends 3, The Dark City, Hyper Sentinel, Inksplosion, Lunch Truck Tycoon 2, Mega Dimension Neptunia V2R, which I'm going to advise against. It is a re-release that is slightly enhanced of Mega Dimension Neptunia V2. The problem with it is that there aren't that many improvements to the game. There's some, like they put the movement circle back in, but the whole shtick is, it's V2R because they're putting in VR content. The VR content is just hanging out in your room with some of the characters from the game. You cannot play the actual main game in VR. Moving on, though, the VR rendition of Abduction is also out on PlayStation VR, friggin' finally. Abduction is a puzzle-adventure game similar to Myst. It's from the people who made Myst. It's been out in non-VR for a good while. But now, the VR version is finally here. Moving on, Raging Justice, which is a kind of bad-looking side-scrolling beat-em-up. Shantae, Half Genie Hero Ultimate Edition, which is, Shantae Half Genie Hero with all of the DLC and bonus content included. It is the final completed rendition. Makes me happy. I donated to that Kickstarter. I'm glad we have finally made it through. Now we can start work on Shantae 5. Moving on, Tacoma, Through the Woods, Trailblazers, and Tier Chains of Valhalla, as well as Laser League and Reverie on the 10th, and on the 11th will be a physical release of Ace of Seafood, which is a bizarre laser shooting fish simulator. Yeah. Moving on, Xbox One, what you getting? Xbox One this week is getting AO International Tennis, Conan Exiles, Death Road to Canada, Destiny 2 Warmind, Raging Justice, Shantae Half Genie Hero Ultimate Edition, although theirs is probably digital only, Inksplosion, Rocket Wars, Suberia, Trailblazers, Zombie Pinball, Laser League, Grim Legends 3, The Dark City, and Hyper Sentinel. Nintendo Switch is also getting Death Road to Canada, which is good. A friend of mine plays a lot of Death Road to Canada. It is a very nice, sorta Oregon Trail type game, except with more twin-stick shooting and two-player co-op, and is goofy. But Death Road to Canada will be on Switch as well, along with Raging Justice, and Shantae Half Genie Hero Ultimate Edition, which that one is physical, just like the PS4 one. Arcade Archives Super Sidekicks 2, Garage, Immortal Redneck, One Piece Pirate Warriors 3, Deluxe Edition, Suicide Guy, Super Chariot, The Fall, 3/4 Home Extended Edition, and Hyper Sentinel. PlayStation Vita this week is getting Dead Ahead, Zombie Warfare, and Inksplosion. And the 3DS is getting Up Bot. Okay. Moving on to next week on PlayStation 4. There will be City Skylines Natural Disasters, Dragon's Crown Pro Battle Hardened Edition, meaning that it comes in the Steelbook case. And that is a version of Dragon's Crown with slightly redone or at least rescanned art so it displays in 4K. Choice of 2 different soundtracks, which is very nice. I don't know what the status of the crazy pencil and paper bonus mode is for the US release. I will be very disappointed if it's not there. But the nice thing is Dragon's Crown Pro is completely compatible with Dragon's Crown on the PS3 or the Vita. So if you already have those, you don't really need to buy this, unless you really want to, like I do. And yeah, it's Dragon's Crown, which is a fantastic side-scrolling beat-em-up from Vanillaware. Was mildly controversial due to some of the character designs, but it's good. It's a beat-em-up that looks like a painting. I've loved it for quite a few years now. Moving on, Forgotten Anne, Gunner, Hitman Definitive Edition, Horizon Chase Turbo, Little Witch Academia Chamber of Time, which is also looking to be a beat-em-up. Okay, I should probably mention Dragon's Crown Pro. That is both online and offline co-op, just so y'all know, because it's nice to have offline co-op. Little Witch Academia is supposed to have both on and offline co-op too, but only for like one mode. Anyway, Omen Sight, The Council 2, Episode 2, Hide and Seek, and Wizard of Legend, and Fox and Forests. Okay. Moving on, Xbox One next week is getting City Skyline Natural Disaster, Forgotten and again, okay. Hitman Definitive Edition, The Council, Episode 2, Hide and Seek, Wizard of Legends, and Fox and Forests. And is that next week? Yes, State of Decay 2 Ultimate Edition is next week. Nintendo Switch next week. We'll be getting Battle Chasers Night War, Hello Kitty Cruisers, in case you want to get your hands on one of the rarest Wii U games on not the Wii U, because you actually wanted to play Hello Kitty Cruisers. It'll be there. The Adventures of Elena Temple, Wizard of Legend, Fox and Forest, Framed Collection, Invisiballs, Yonder the Cloudcatcher Chronicles, Henry the Hamster Handler, Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, and Little Nightmares Complete Edition. And nothing on Vita next week, and the 3DS next week is getting Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey Redux. Whew! I thought there was supposed to be a summer game drought. I guess they changed their minds. So, on to the new anime that are in theaters. May 10th, Digimon Adventures Tri Coexistence will be in theaters May 10th if you want to see it. Lou Over the Wall, meanwhile, starts May 11th and 12th, and it will be running at the Tivoli until the 17th. But I can't find out if it's subbed or dubbed. I know that Lou Over the Wall will be at the Mills May 11th, 12th, and 14th, and it will be subbed on the 14th, which, wouldn't you know it, that's when I'm out of town. So, we actually have a few good days with Lou Over the Wall. That's definitely something to look into. And then after that, Porco Rosso will be in theaters May 20th, 21st, and 23rd. It'll be like subbed on the 21st, if I recall correctly. So there you go. Those are our new video games for this week and next week, and what anime are in theaters. Coming up next is 'Cause I Can by Focus Man, here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. And please stay tuned for more GameBabble Live as we get into our video game news and information segment. Thank you so much for listening, and please enjoy the music. Wow, that's a long pause at the end of a song. That was I Don't See Nobody. Technically, the song had not ended yet. It just ended. Anyway, that was I Don't See Nobody by Buff and Chubb, here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and welcome back to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday, except for next Tuesday, from noon to 3 p.m. Be out of town next Tuesday. Anyway, I am here, joined by spontaneous sidekick Sully once again.
As always.
And, it is good.
He had my mic off.
It is good to remember to turn on your co-host's mic. Pro tip.
It really is. I felt something was a bit off when I talked and nothing came out.
I was like, that's very peculiar. Not coming through very clear.
He must have peanut butter in his mouth.
I'm going to have to troubleshoot this problem. But anyway, how about we just kick this show off with me complaining about Capcom this week, shall we?
Well, this is going to be good.
So, Capcom went over the Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection's Training and Versus mode, which doesn't seem like something you'd have to go over. It's a fighting game, they have a Versus mode, obviously. If you're unfamiliar about Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection, it is the biggest no-brainer in the history of no-brainers. It is a big old collection of pretty much every Street Fighter. Street Fighter 1, a bunch of different versions of Street Fighter 2, all the different versions of Street Fighter 3, including New Generation and Alpha 1, 2, and 3, all packed together on a single card thing. And then if you're on, like, Xbox One or PS4, there's some way that, like, pre-ordering it'll get you a version of Street Fighter 4 as well. Shame you can't do that on Switch, but it is coming to Xbox One, PS4, and Switch, and it's like, I want to be able to play all these Street Fighters on it, and you'll be able to play some of them online, and that's where things start to falter with this collection. The only games you will be able to play online are Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Street Fighter Alpha 3, and Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. And in this latest announcement, Capcom has revealed that these are also the only games that will have a training mode. Now, to the uninitiated, you look at that, and you say, well, yeah, those are the ones people care about. The best version of Vanilla Street Fighter 2, the best version of Super Street Fighter 2, Alpha 3, which is the final version of Alpha, and Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, which is the final version of Street Fighter 3. Why would anyone really care about all those other features? Why would anyone care about training and online play in those other games? And I'll tell you why. It's because Alpha 2 is better than Alpha 3. Now, that is a point of debate, but there's no denying Alpha 2 and Alpha 3 are very, very, very different games. From a personal standpoint, I can't stand Street Fighter Alpha 3. I hate it. But I love Street Fighter Alpha 2. It's just a better, faster, tighter game with way better music and backgrounds and presentation and a lot of things. I really, really like Alpha 2, and I have a soft spot for Street Fighter 3 New Generation, but I get it. No one plays New Generation, no one plays Second Impact. All the Street Fighter 3s are horribly buggy when you get down to it, and broken and unbalanced. They've got issues. But Alpha 2 is a sticking point. The way Capcom is snubbing Alpha 2, I do think is a problem. And then you get into the other things, which is the fact that these appear to be based on the US versions instead of the Japanese versions, even in the Japanese release. Why does this matter? Well, Capcom screwed up the difficulty level in Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo when they did the US release. They were like, we're just going to make this arbitrarily harder and stupid.
It's because they don't like us.
They really don't. And, like, some of the game... Oh, yeah, that's right, like... Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, like, works slightly differently in Japan, and that's the one that's, like, the turny spec release. And a lot of Japanese gamers especially have been complaining about this. And, you know, people in the US who play Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo competitively would also be complaining about this. Because, you know, Super Turbo is a classic. People do still play it competitively, and, you know, it's kind of a problem that they're doing this particular release. On top of that, we're only getting vanilla Alpha 3 because, believe it or not, there are other versions of Street Fighter Alpha 3 which add in more characters. Like, if I recall, Guile is not in the arcade version of Alpha 3, and I know he's a major character for a lot of people, because there was also Street Fighter Alpha 3 Upper, and then later on there was Street Fighter Alpha 3 Max, which I think Max is only on PSP and GBA. But a lot of people would like, you know, a non-PSP version of Alpha 3 Max, and that's not here either. Basically, the collection looks like a bit of a letdown in that respect. And what's more, it says that in order to access these modes, people will need to download a Day 1 patch. So they're not even really going to be on the cartridge as having a training mode and arguably a versus. I'm going to assume the versus mode is on the cartridge. But
I would certainly hope so, because that just makes us even more angry, Capcom.
Yeah, so the training mode isn't even on the cartridge. You need to download a thing. It's like, wow, you're really being lazy with something that should be an easy no-brainer. But then again, a lot of Capcom's recent re-release collections have been weird, like when they did the Mega Man Legacy collection, where they were like, oh, we're gonna release half the Mega Man games in Part 1 and half the Mega Man games in Part 2, and that sounds fine, until you remember that back on PS2, GameCube, and I think Xbox, they released all the regular Mega Man games together. Now, to their credit, they didn't have Mega Man 9 and 10, which I think are in the Legacy collection, but it was still like a really odd choice. They're doing the same thing with Mega Man X, though in the Mega Man X collection's credit, they did not have X7 and X8 in the previous collection. So at least 2 games have been added, but I don't know if that's enough to split things up this way. I don't know. I've been a little iffy on some of Capcom's re-releases. And didn't they do? I forget.
I have the answer for you. Money.
Money's a wonderful answer, but it's still strange. It is.
I don't think they're gonna gain too much of a boon out of sales if they split it up.
Yeah, but I'm more concerned about Street Fighter Anniversary Collection, and I know I'm still getting it because I'm the world's only Street Fighter 1 fanboy. But I like New Generation, and that's the thing. The only other home port of Street Fighter 3 New Generation is on the Dreamcast as part of the Double Impact collection. So, okay, I have reason to get this, but I'm still a little disappointed that Capcom isn't doing better with this, and it also makes me worry about the netcode. I could just see them botching the netcode on this, causing everyone to go back to their PS3 and 360 versions of Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, which has good netcode. Anyway, that's a whole lot of rambling. Sully, what you got for us?
I actually have some really good news. A few weeks back, I talked a ton on Dark Souls Remastered, and we finally have news regarding it. So everyone learned that it was pushed back to the summer for the Switch release, but everyone always had the question of whether or not PC players would be able to upgrade. And they have finally announced that you will be upgraded for a reduced price. So that's good.
Yeah, it's at least it's something.
Because it's almost a full price game.
Right.
It's just a little less. But it's good that they're letting the PC players who are pretty much rioting at that point to upgrade so that they don't get angrier. Also, the original Dark Souls 1 game has been removed from the Steam store. But that's not really a big deal because if you're going to be getting into Dark Souls at this point in time, you're probably just going to go straight to the remaster anyway. So, it's not that big of a deal, but it is welcome news.
Indeed.
Last week, we talked about Agony, a new survival horror game, has you journeying through hell as a tormented soul to get out. That release date is May 29th. We also have news of its features that may have been around for a while, actually, and I just haven't been able to look at them. The game has you solving puzzles and riddles as you go along as well. You can also possess people and minor demons, I guess, from what it's saying. It looks pretty interesting overall. The graphics look great. And it's something I'm really looking forward to. So that's a day one buy right there.
Indeed. Let's talk about another interesting one. So last week I think I mentioned that there was some rumors floating around that, well, okay. For starters, the Final Fantasy VII Remake has been in development hell for
we talked about this to great length last week.
Right, and there was a rumor floating around that that Square Enix had to scrap most of their work on the game due to the fact that they fired CyberConnect 2 because their work was quote-unquote unusable, and this came from a source claiming to be an insider at Square Enix, and it spread all over the internet. And I found it very questionable because CyberConnect 2 never seemed like a bad company. They've generally done good work. I've liked the work of CyberConnect 2, and so I sort of raised a question. Well, on a stream a couple days ago, Maximilian Dude did discuss this. Now, why is he a credible source? Well, he lives in California. He has a lot of connections in the industry. He's often asked to do promotional stuff for some video game companies, so he has a little bit of inside knowledge. Now, due to non-disclosure agreements, he cannot say anything beyond, no, that is completely false. CyberConnect 2 did not disappoint anyone. People know that they were fired. But, according to him, he's got his own Square Enix insiders, and yeah, it didn't go down anything like the way the guy was claiming. And I believe that, again, because CyberConnect 2 generally does good work. If you're unfamiliar with that company, their biggest claim to fame was the .hack series. They also did Tail Concerto and Solito Robo, and they've done the Naruto Ninja Storm games, as well as Ashura's Wrath.
I can understand some of the people getting over Ninja Storm, though.
No matter how... Okay, Ninja Storm, I admit I've played very little of it. It's not a good fighting game, but it is a good making flashy things happen on screen game. That is one thing CyberConnect 2 is very good at, is making flashy things happen on screen. I have played Ashura's Wrath, and that was very good. at making flashy things happen on screen.
And the Naruto games just sort of got gamer-shotted into oblivion. Because some people played them and then decided that they were going to riot against them.
To a degree, there's still a lot of people who really like the Ninja Storm games. But yeah, no, if you wanted a good fighter, you'd play, what's it called? I forget the name of it. I only know the Japanese name. You play the Gekito Ninja Taisen games, which are made by Aiding, and I love Aiding, the makers of Bloody Roar. They're great. But, yeah, no, like, those games have their fans, and that's the thing, like, I haven't seen CyberConnect 2 really be much of a letdown as a company. They generally, people know what they're good at, and they do their job, so I found it very weird that it would be like, oh, all the work from CyberConnect 2 was just unusable. That sounds like typical Square fanboys.
It's the Square Enix fanboys that are like, get out of here. We don't need you.
More like the Square fanboys. Here's the thing. I've mentioned in the past that I love Final Fantasy XII, and I actually remember when that game was coming out and getting horribly snubbed, that a lot of what people didn't like about it was being blamed on, and I quote, the evil of Enix. And it's like, Enix is a good company. They're the other big RPG company. They do good work. What? The evil of Enix, really? No. But that's the way Square fans can be. They don't want to admit that that the Square side of Square Enix is collapsing in on itself. But, who knows? Maybe things will pick up after Kingdom Hearts 3 comes out, because that's supposed to be this year. We're supposed to be done with Kingdom Hearts 3, and then we can move on and get Final Fantasy VII Remake going.
Nobody believes them.
No one believes them. We'll see. We'll see what happens. It's going to be really interesting when Kingdom Hearts 3 disappoints everyone.
It's going to be really interesting when it doesn't come out.
No, they have shown gameplay of it. Something will come out, but they've already said that there will be less worlds, but the worlds will be more fleshed out, which sounds good on paper, except I'm not really digging a lot of the worlds, and, well, okay, I'm not paying too close attention to Kingdom Hearts 3, but I'm seeing a lot more Pixar than actual Disney in it, and that's a little weird. And
I just want my Marvel world.
Oh, yeah, that's not happening. If we're lucky, we'll get some Big Hero 6, but I doubt it. But the thing with Kingdom Hearts 3, and this is one of those things you don't really think about, is that Kingdom Hearts 3 has been being hyped up since Kingdom Hearts 2. While there have been, 5 Kingdom Hearts games after Kingdom Hearts 2, and they're all, central to the story and very big and good, every single one of them has the overall message of, oh man, Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to be great. We have had, 5 games all building up to how great Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to be, and we were expecting it last console generation, so people are expecting the world out of this game. I have a hard time imagining that it's not going to disappoint people. I'll be happy if it doesn't disappoint people. I know I'm already disappointed because no gummy ships, but I'm weird like that. I have a site called the Rail Shooter Archives for archiving rail shooters. It's a thing I do. I like chase view rail shooters. So, the lack of gummy ships, that bothers me personally, but I understand I'm the only one. But
we don't talk about Kingdom Hearts Recoded, though. That was a mistake.
Recoded makes sense in context. As hey, here's pretty much Kingdom Hearts 1 being remade for cell phones and the DS. Yeah, in that context, okay, it's cool. But when they tried to, take the story of it and make it into a movie in the Kingdom Hearts collection, that was a mistake. They could have shaved.
Was pretty bad.
They could have shaved pretty much an hour and a half off of that movie. There's, 10 minutes of actual content in that movie. I tried to watch it. It's unwatchable. Nothing happens.
The Kingdom Hearts Recoded trailer was better.
Probably. Anyway, we need to take a quick break, so here's It's Okay by Central City Heroes here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind, and when we get back, more video game news and information here on 89.5 FM. Thank you. That was Finesse by Bruno Mars and Cardi B here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, still joined by spontaneous sidekick Sully.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Turn those up a little bit. And, yeah, so, welcome back to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m., except for next Tuesday, taking a break. Well, not really much of a break. I got some work I got to do, but we will be back Tuesday after.
Poor Joe has to work, can't play games.
Indeed. But yeah. So, I've mentioned briefly that there was some rumor that Ikaruga might be coming to Switch, and now that is confirmed. It will be coming out May 29th. Ikaruga will be hitting your Switch. Now, if only they could do that with Radiant Silvergun, because that is the harder to find game. But admittedly, I had more fun with Ikaruga than I did Radiant Silvergun. I just like the opening cinematic for Radiant Silvergun. But
it's all about the aesthetics.
Quite, and with the opening cinematic for Radiant Silvergun doesn't fit the game at all, but I love it. And yeah, the main reason I bring that one up is because that game, before the Xbox 360 release, the only way to play it was to import a Saturn version that often cost over $300. Because people regarded it as one of the greatest shoot-'em-ups ever made, and Ikaruga was considered to be its spiritual successor, but, it's still not really Radiant Silvergun. It'd be nice if they'd do that, but I'm not too caring. Moving on, though, hey, we were just, during the break, we were looking at some footage of Blade Strangers, the crazy crossover fighting game from, Nicalis, featuring characters from Code of Princess, Umihara Kawase, and
my personal favorite, Cave Story.
And Cave Story. We at least have Curly from Cave Story, and they just announced that Gunvolt from Azure Striker Gunvolt will be in the game, and that there are still 3 more guest characters they have yet to announce.
From the footage we watched, it actually looks really interesting, to say the least, with its style.
Yeah, even though they're doing cel-shaded, pre-rendered 3D sprites, it still looks like it plays really solid, and I really look forward to sinking my teeth into this game. It just, good selection of some very wacky characters from obscure games, and for me, I'm just good with Code of Princess characters. I wish Lady Zozo was in there, but, I've got Solange and I've got Ollie, and that'll be good enough for me.
I'm just upset that Curly has weapons she shouldn't have, but I'm gonna let it slide if it's actually good.
Yeah, basically it looks like Curly is going to be representing Cave Story as a whole. It does not look like Quote will be in there, but we could be wrong.
I just like how their names are based after typing stuff. Curly Brace and Quote.
Yep. It is a very peculiar naming scheme. Now, I am just going to go on record and say I fully expect a La Mulana character to be in this game. I'm not sure if they're going to choose a character from 1 or 2. More than likely 1, because it's more well-known. I forget if 2 even came out. But yeah, I expect the main dude from La Mulana to be in the game. And beyond that, it's all up in the air. They might put freaking Binding of Isaac in here, looking at this now.
That would be neat. I want to see how they would actually implement that.
Yeah, that'd be odd. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on Binding of Isaac, but I could see that happening. I'm just very curious to see what other characters they put in this game, because, as it is the most random collection of characters. And don't forget, Code of Princess EX will be coming to Nintendo Switch sometime this summer. Makes me happy because I like Code of Princess. It is a good Guardian Heroes style side-scrolling beat-em-up. It was originally released on 3DS. It was ported to Steam a while back, and now it will be getting a Switch version, and the Switch version will have local multiplayer as well as online, and that makes me very happy because local multiplayer is always a good thing to have. I always get a little angry when we don't have local multiplayer.
Speaking of the Switch, people are tired about me talking about Hollow Knight, probably, but it has appeared on the Nintendo eShop, actually, so we can expect its Switch release to be hopefully sometime very soon. Team Cherry, the developers of Hollow Knight, have stated multiple times that it would be coming early 2018, so this is pretty much May is pretty much the breaking point for early 2018. So, hopefully, don't quote me on it, sometime this month we should be getting Hollow Knight Switch Edition. And it will have, once again, the free updates of all the DLC, like the PC release of Hollow Knight does. I believe they may be doing one paid DLC, but we haven't had any information on that yet. Their final content update will be Gods and Glory, which I've talked about in the past, and we have no new information on that either. But otherwise, it looks like it should be coming to Switch relatively soon, so we'll see how that goes.
Maybe it'll come to Switch at the same time as that final content update.
Well, the final content update is supposed to be sometime between mid-summer to mid-fall. So, them saying early 2018 isn't very the best news for if that's the case, because that's kind of misleading. Because that would be mid-2018 to late 2018.
Yeah.
But luckily, it's easy for them to do DLC releases and stuff like that. So, it'll probably be coming to Switch soon, and then when the new content update comes, they'll either somehow a game update, I don't know, or DLC it. So,
indeed. So, moving right along, I'm very happy to hear about this from the makers of RPG Maker.
Oh.
They are making an Action Game Maker. Action Game Maker MV. It is apparently 70% finished. This makes me very happy because I could pretty much bet on a US release now. We've been finally getting these games properly, and I will buy that thing probably. Well, we'll see what happens. But as soon as that thing's available in English, I am totally buying it because let me tell you, I have had a game in the planning phases for a while. I've been struggling with really getting it to work in Game Maker. Been having a bit of issues with that. So hopefully Action Game Maker will make everything nice and easy, because goodness knows RPG Maker is just a dream to work with. It's very nice. Makes things very easy, possibly too easy. And
yeah, the amount of games that come straight out of RPG Maker, completely finished and ready to go, is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's very easy to use. Before it had its proper US release, I remember fiddling around with bootleg versions. I think as far back as when I was in elementary school. It was, RPG Maker's a breeze to work with, and I know that Action Game Maker will be at least a little harder to work with, just due to the nature of the content, but...
Well, RPG Maker has also had several updates, so it's probably going to be rough for the first, solid 3 to 6 months of Action Maker coming out, until it gets an update and makes everything a lot easier to fiddle around with.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, but again, there is a game I've been trying to find a way to make for a while now, and hopefully Action Game Maker will make my dreams a reality, and then everyone will be able to facepalm at my horrible game.
Use Blender.
Oh, hell no, I am not using Blender. Especially because the last... No Blender. We are doing 2D sprites. Absolutely. Even if I have to draw them myself, though, I will probably just pay someone to draw them for me, and that'll probably wind up costing a lot. But we'll see what we can do. Who knows? Maybe I can pull it off. I've experimented around with some sprites. But yeah, I really look forward to Action Game Maker MV. Let's see, where do we move on from here? Speaking of sort of indie-ish things, hey, The Good Life is funded along with a Nintendo Switch release. Thank freaking goodness.
Is this the one we talked about last week?
It is. I was a little concerned.
I'm excited about it now.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned because of course I didn't have the funds to help fund it, and I do want this game. Thank goodness it's coming out, because it's coming from, if you're unfamiliar with The Good Life, you didn't tune in last week, it is the new game from Swery, who is the guy who made the infamous Deadly Premonition, And it is going to be a game where you play a news reporter lady who comes to what is said to be the happiest town in the world, only to find, number one, a murder, and number two, at night, people turn into either dogs or cats. Depending upon which version of the game you decide to play, you get to choose at the beginning. And she starts turning into a dog or a cat at night as well. Now, the reason I'm excited for this is, number one, Sweary is a kooky guy. But number two, the problem with Deadly Premonition was the action. That game's, like, fighting zombie-ish things and shooting stuff in Deadly Premonition was a dumpster fire. It was terrible. Because it was actually not in the original plan for the game. They just shoehorned it in because they were like, hey, we're going to need combat in order for this game to sell. The Good Life isn't going to have any of that. It is going to be all walking around town, talking to people, solving mysteries, which may sound boring, but trust me, with Sweary at the helm, it won't be boring. It will be very
interesting, to say the least.
You never know what you'll find in your coffee. And you know what? That is a good question. Have we seen Forrest Kasem yet? I kind of half expect Forrest Kasem to show up, because he tends to. That, like, he is a little bit of, yeah, I think he's in all of Sweary's games, because he's in Spy Fiction. He is, of course, like, one of the central villains of Deadly Premonition, and he shows up in, what was that game? D4, Dark Dreams Don't Die. He showed up in there, too, and it's a little different in every one, but I'm excited to see what Forrest Kasem has up his sleeve.
Oh, definitely.
But anyway, moving on, let's see. Nintendo has announced more about their online plans. They will indeed be cheap, and they have a very nice cheap family plan for up to 8 people. And on top of that, when you sign up for Nintendo's online service, you gain access to this special online NES game library that not only can you play, but you can actually play them, like, with other people. You can do 2-player over the internet on these select NES games. Now, thus far, there hasn't been any particularly exciting announcements, but it's still very nice. I look forward to the eventual edition of Urban Champion, because they're going to put Urban Champion on there, and then we'll just hold ourselves an Urban Champion tournament, why don't we? I'd be down with that. But,
I just want my Legend of Zelda.
Well, that's already announced.
Oh, yeah, but I need my Ocarina of Time. I need everything, man.
Yeah, and that's where things get weird, because people were like, okay, so you're doing this online NES library, what's going on with the Virtual Console? That's been the thing on the tip of everyone's tongue.
Everyone's been upset about the Virtual Console for a while now.
Yeah, well, Nintendo has said there are no plans for a Virtual Console on the Switch. Which is which is very strange and makes people raise an eyebrow, but at the same time, I kind of get it, because everyone is already releasing their retro games without the Virtual Console. We've got the Arcade Archives Neo Geo games, we've got the Sega Ages collection, Zero Div has been re-releasing Psycho games, we've got Johnny Turbo's Arcade re-releasing Data East games. Pretty much everyone has just made their own Virtual Console and are releasing games on Switch anyway, so
Alright, Nintendo, step up your game. We want a remake of Majora's Mask. Make the moon creepier.
We already got a remake of Majora's Mask.
I know, let's do it again.
But yeah,
updated graphics.
So everyone's already doing that, and so it's like, what's even the point here?
It's like, if you guys are just going to make your own...
Yeah, we don't need
We're not going to release any support for this.
Yeah, which, honestly might be a blessing in disguise, aside from the fact that...
Because it makes people think about what they're doing with their game before they actually do anything.
Yeah, and it's like, this could be a blessing in disguise, because, like, the Virtual Console honestly had a lot of issues. There were a lot of features we would have really liked and Nintendo didn't really have, and... So, I don't think it's that big of an issue, aside from the fact that it then raises the question of, so Nintendo, are you going to re-release any old games aside from a couple of NES games? Are you going to put any N64 games on the Switch? Are you going to put any Super Nintendo games on the Switch? Are you going to go beyond just NES games, or are you going to do something stupid? Which, it's a little up in the air. Speaking of Nintendo doing something stupid... A Japanese magazine recently republished an old interview from Gunpei Yokoi, which helps squash an old rumor. For anyone unfamiliar, Gunpei Yokoi was the freaking genius behind the Game Boy. He was Nintendo's major hardware guy. However, after the release of the Virtual Boy, he was fired from Nintendo, or he left Nintendo, I should say, and then he died in a tragic car accident back in 1997. This has been sort of a legend that he was fired because of how bad the Virtual Boy was. This interview from around that time period reveals no, he always intended to leave Nintendo at age 55. His plan was that he wanted to leave and form his own company, and this is the most amazing thing. The reason why he wanted to was because he felt Nintendo was getting too big and weren't focusing on weird niche toy concepts. Which, you look at Nintendo Labo and you say,
weird niche toy concept.
That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to continue being a toy maker.
You look at Amiibo and think the same thing, pretty much.
Kind of, but Labo especially is a very Gunpei Yokoi thing, and it's like, well, that's
I got my copy of Labo the other day. I'm not gonna lie.
You did. Which one did you get?
The robot kit. So I'll be spending the next 2 weeks doing that.
Good, yeah, let me know how it turns out for you, because again, I watched a video of someone putting it together.
You watched an 8-hour stream.
I skipped around in the 8-hour stream, but yeah, I watched Liam put it together, and I am really impressed by the control I was seeing out of that thing.
It's better than the controllers.
It is better than the controllers on their own,
Speaking of those controllers, when I got my Switch, I had such a hard time adapting to those controls.
Yeah.
It's an adapt, especially when I'm playing Breath of the Wild, when I was used to playing it on the Wii U. That was a weird change, I feel. The controller, the actual controller part itself is really weird. It plays a lot better on the what's I gonna say? On the pad, yeah, on the actual Switch pad or whatever, the Switch screen. That entire sentence was a mistake.
Boy, was it! So, but yeah, I did want to say, it is very weird that, it's so funny to hear that Gunpei Yokoi left Nintendo because they weren't doing enough weird toy crap. When you look at the kind of stuff Nintendo's been putting out. But I really want to give the guy a salute, mostly for the one thing he made after Nintendo before he died, and that's the Wonder Swan. Now, the Wonder Swan never came to America, but that thing was a work of freaking genius. I've owned both the black and white one and, of course, the Final Fantasy Special Edition color one. The thing that makes the Wonder Swan nice, it's a portable game system if you've never seen one. Very, very slim, designed to be played vertically or horizontally. It actually doesn't have any D-pad. It's all buttons. It's a little odd like that. And, again, very slim form factor, nice, big, wide screen, surprisingly high resolution, especially for the black and white one. They were able to port some good Super Nintendo games to it, and this was well before the GBA. But if there was any claim to fame for the Wonder Swan, and this still blows my mind, and should be eternally saluted forever as Gunpei Yokoi's most amazing technical accomplishment, the Wonder Swan...
60 FPS.
No, I'm sure there's games that run at 60 FPS on it, but no. The Wonder Swan is a portable game system that runs on a single AA battery.
Woo, better than the Game Boy Advanced.
Yeah, it runs on a single AA, and that thing lasts for a good 10 to 15 hours. And it's how I've never seen anything run on a single AA. It's always two AAs. Even flashlights tend to run on two AAs instead of just one. So having this very impressive little portable system run on a single AA battery while producing black and white Super Nintendo quality visuals that were eventually upgraded to color Super Nintendo quality visuals, very, very impressive. It's a wonderful little system.
It's my Game Boy takes two AAs, and it has about 3 hours of playtime, I swear.
I don't know what Game Boy you're using. Game Boys have good battery life.
I'm talking about the Advance. It might just be old, though.
Yeah, there's something wrong with your advanced. Because you can get a while out of some advanced.
Hey, that's why I just play on my Game Boy Special Edition. The color, the backlit screen, the original DS.
But yeah, but as I was saying, yeah, the Wonder Swan was a very impressive piece of. And the best part, the Wonder Swan, the company that actually released it, was Bandai. And their whole shtick with the Wonder Swan was that it was stupid cheap. Like that, the Wonder Swan launched at like the equivalent of $50 for, brand new. And they usually packed it with the game brand new. Here's this very nice slim portable system, $50, surprisingly impressive. And yeah, Bandai of course used it as, their licensed game machine. Oh, hey, here's another game based on an anime. Here's another game based on an anime. Do you even know how many Digimon games we've released on this?
70.
Yeah, it was a lot. And in fact, that was the reason why I wanted it, was for Digimon version Wonder Swan, which I still don't own. I need to fix that. But there's but like on top of that, they also there were a lot of impressive games. They put Pocket Fighter on there, the only portable version of Pocket Fighter, and that was a very impressive port. There was a version of Beat Mania on there.
That seems like quite the ironic thing, considering it's called Pocket Fighter.
I know, right? And then they
only portable version of Pocket Fighter.
And they put like the original Clock Tower on there, and they put Mega Man and Bass on there, and then of course when they did the color, that launched with the first of the Final Fantasy I remakes. They've since ported that particular version to pretty much everything, but it first appeared on the color, and cripes, I know Gunpei Yokoi had nothing to do with the Wonder Swan color, he just did the original Wonder Swan, but cripes, the colors on the color were nice. Shame that the contrast gets screwed up really badly if you leave it in a hot car. Found that out the hard way. But yeah, the Wonder Swan was a really impressive little system. I want to give it a salute, and a good salute to Gunpei Yokoi. It's good to hear he wasn't fired for the Virtual Boy. That he actually left of his own accord. The Virtual Boy was released too early anyway. He was still working on it, and Nintendo, they needed something to release because the N64 had gotten delayed. And I need to sit down with a Virtual Boy emulator and do a proper Virtual Boy tribute one day. An emulator, because I'd like to play every single game on Virtual Boy. There's only 32. And I only physically own 10. So it'd be nice to play through them all, because here's the thing. I really want to say this. The Virtual Boy is regarded as one of the worst consoles of all time, but I, thus far, have never played a bad Virtual Boy game. Having said that, I've also never played anything particularly great on the Virtual Boy.
It's just mediocre.
Exactly. It's the games on Virtual Boy range from to it's pretty good. Tolero Boxer is pretty much the best. Tolero Boxer and Wario Land on the Virtual Boy are pretty much the best, and they're pretty good.
Wario Land is always the best out of any game, though. Let's get real here.
Yeah, I haven't really played many Wario Lands. I need to fix that one day.
Before we move on, I want your thoughts on this, because I just saw this on GameSpot, and I'm actually, I might be falling back into a horrible pit of depression. Fortnite recently has released a Thanos mode from the new Avengers Infinity War.
You know what? We will talk about that after the break. Here's Oak. Hello and welcome back to GameBabble Live here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. That was Feels by Calvin Harris featuring Pharrell Williams. And this is GameBabble Live. So, before the break, we were talking about Fortnite having a Thanos mode. Describe the Thanos mode, please.
Alright, so according to Epic Games themselves, it's your typical Battle Royale mode. 100 players are dropped onto the island, and everyone is gunning for each other to be the last one standing and win the game. But early on, the island will have a meteor crash into it, and the Infinity Gauntlet will become an available weapon to use. The first player who gets to the meteor crash and claims the gauntlet gets transformed into Thanos, and will then be able to use the Infinity Gauntlet's abilities. the player who gets transformed is no longer able to build or use weapons, but instead gains several new abilities from the gauntlet itself, such as being able to jump high distances, fire powerful energy beams, basically one-hit knockout punches, I believe, that can destroy structure walls and other such things. He also has, I believe, larger health with a recharging shield whenever another enemy player is defeated. Apparently, he was so powerful that they already patched him. They've already had to nerf him. So, it just seems like a very niche thing.
It's an interesting mode idea, and the thing that amuses me the most about this is that while we're talking about Fortnite having Infinity War crazy mode where you play as Thanos, apparently Overwatch also has something.
Did they just turn Doomfist into Thanos?
That would probably be good. I'm having a little I'm having a little bit of confusion about this. I think they're just skins, and I think it's just some Infinity War skins.
Okay.
And then they did like a new trailer for it. Unfortunately, I don't pay a lot of attention to Overwatch due to my own personal beef with it. But
is it beef with it, or is it beef with Blizzard?
Same difference. It's a little of column A, a little of column B. Anyway, I honestly don't like the hero shooter genre as a whole. I feel it's too restrictive. But, okay, so we've got Avengers Infinity War stuff going on all over the place, and yeah, that mode in Fortnite sounds kind of amusing, and this is where things got interesting, because I was talking about how I'd actually like to play Fortnite. I love a cartoony visual style. I kind of like the weird character collection aspect to it. I like the idea of a battle royale game where you're building forts. I'm like, that actually sounds like a total hoot. But I was looking at it, and I was like, the problem is the PlayStation 4 infamously can't play cross-platform, and that's what I'd play it on. I'm not particularly fond of playing games on my PC, and so I thought, I'll play it on my Xbox One, since I finally got that hooked up again to play some Panzer Dragoon Orta, now that that's supported. So I was going to go do that, and then I read, to play Fortnite Battle Royale, a free-to-play game, you need Xbox Live Gold. And I use my Xbox so little these days that I am not resubscribing to Xbox Live Gold. I don't care. So I was like, that's stupid. But on PlayStation 4, you do not need PS Plus in order to play Fortnite Battle Royale, because when a game is free to play on PS4, even if it has online features, you don't need to pay for PS Plus to play it. You only, I think PS Plus is really only for when Sony is hosting the servers. I think that's the difference, because, Sony actually hosts the servers for a lot of these games. It makes adding online to these games really easy, because it's just, I think it's because they're literally linking two PS4s together and they're acting as servers for each other. When a game is an MMORPG and it has its own servers that the company in charge of it is running, Sony can't really justify having to pay for PS Plus, and it's definitely a huge boon to them for their free-to-play games on PS4 to be actually free.
On that note, though, if that is exactly how it works, then I don't know how well the Dark Souls Remastered is going to go there, because they have their own dedicated servers for themselves.
Well, we'll find out when it gets here.
Yep, we'll see how it goes. But back to Fortnite.
Yeah, but what I found interesting, I was scrolling through this FAQ, and I was like, wait a second, what's this about general cross-platform play functionality from the FAQ? I'm on PC. When do I play against cross-platform players? Mobile, PS4, or Xbox players who are in cross-platform party may appear as enemies in your match. And I'm like, wait, what? And then it says PS4 cross-platform functionality. If I play Fortnite Battle Royale on PS4, can I squad up with friends on PC, Mac, and mobile? Yes, as long as you've linked your PlayStation Network account to your Epic Games account, you can cross-play with PC, Mac, and mobile players.
Notice that they don't say Xbox.
I do notice that they don't say Xbox. But I'm very happy
Selective
to hear
cross-platform.
Selective cross-platform, just Xbox and PS4 snubbing each other. Mostly PS4, because Microsoft's already said they have no problem playing against PS4 players. But I'm very curious about this, but this makes me happy, because, of course, my main concern is being able to play with PC players, and I'm happy to hear that, I guess, is a thing. Basically, I just don't want... If I'm going to actually play Fortnite Battle Royale, in the off chance that I fall in love with it and I actually wind up spending money to get characters and crap in Fortnite, if I actually wind up doing that, if I really like the game, I don't want to be on the inferior version. And I know the PC players will tell me that by being on console, I am already on the inferior version. But, that aside, I want to be able to play with the largest number of people. And so, if I can play with the PC players, even if I'm on PS4, then we good. We good. I'm probably going to try to download Fortnite Battle Royale tonight. No guarantee if I'll play it or stream it, but I'd like to give it a spin. And probably lose horribly, but I'd like to give it a spin.
Hear that soon? Fortnite gel stream.
Possibly. I still want to do the Princess Maker stream, the rest of the Princess Maker stream. I streamed it once. We went through Princess Maker 1. We're halfway through 2. I should talk about this. Princess Maker 5 did come out. Big surprise. It's horribly buggy and crashes a whole lot, but they've been working on patching it. This is what happens with CFK. Weirdly, all of the money in the game is multiplied by 10, so everything costs 10 times more than it's supposed to, but you make 10 times as much, so they forgot a decimal point, but that's fine. It could have been them trying to adjust the prices to Korean prices. I don't know. CFK is a Korean company. But yes, I am very intrigued by Princess Maker 5. I've downloaded it. I played it for a couple minutes, and
then it crashed.
No, it crashed when I made it full screen, but it did not crash yet. I played it for a few minutes, and I dipped my toe in, and I said, oh, I am getting in way too deep. We're waiting until we beat the other games on stream. I'm saving this for the stream, so that way they can patch some of these bugs, and yeah, we are... Oh, buddy, Princess Maker 5 looks like a thing. I didn't know it had an adventure mode. I thought they stopped doing the RPG mode after 2, because Princess Maker 3 and 4 don't have the RPG adventure mode. But it's back in Princess Maker 5. And then I find out that Princess Maker 5 has a central villain and a body count. And I'm like, what?
A body count?
A body count. Okay, so the plot of Princess Maker 5. Let's talk Princess Maker 5. The plot is that there's this fantasy world, and an evil demon army is burning it to the ground, castles in flames, and Demon Butler Cube, in a desperate move, grabs the princess and takes her to modern-day Japan. She has no memory of the fantasy world, or what her name is, or anything else, but she's happy living in modern-day Japan, and you can play as either her father or her mother. They actually give you a choice this time, so that was nice. And, yeah, you're raising her, but while all this is going on, members of the demon army in the fantasy world are apparently going into modern-day Japan looking for her, and, not afraid to murder a few people in order to get their way. And I'm like, okay, Princess Maker, you're always full of surprises. And apparently, once you start running into them, you get the ability to travel back to the fantasy world and go on adventures. There's apparently 4 different... I have no clue how the adventure system works. I've watched some streams of it, I've poked at it, and I've just said, egad, Princess Maker 5 is delightfully complicated. Like, there are layers upon layers. Like, there's like actual branching conversation trees when you talk to your daughter at home, and you set up what her after-school club schedule is, and tell her if she should focus more on study or play, and play increases sociability, but study increases intelligence. There's varying degrees to that. And then there's what attitude she should take when it comes to strangers, if she should, stay away from strangers or be friendly to everyone. And then you have multiple side characters that she could become friends with and grow relationships with, and possibly even fall in love with some of the various boys in the game. I think I've heard hints that the boys might get murdered. I'm not sure, depending upon what happens in the game with the various villains running around. So that's a concern. And then when you go to town, there's so many different stores, and you can actually just hang out and window shop at the stores, which will affect stats, and this could cause you to meet people. There are layers to this game, and I am like, good.
And he doesn't want a single spoiler.
Oh, no, I'm all about some spoilers. I've already spoiled some things for myself. There's a lot here.
That you practically need it.
Yeah, I'm like, I am getting in deep with this thing. Let's get through the rest of the Princess Makers. And on that note, I mentioned that I've been naming my daughters Boy as a joke to God of War.
As a homage to God of War. There we go.
And I just realized that we are going Super God of War next, because of course we're on to Princess Maker 2, and I was thinking about Princess Maker 2. It's like, okay, I already met the old dragon. I already fought the young dragon. We're good on that. And I was like, geez, what should I do next? It's like, oh yeah, that's right. I should climb the big snowy mountain and kill the God of War. That's a thing you could do. And I'm just realizing, so now I can actually use the line, there are consequences for killing a god, boy. We're going to do that. We're going to kill the God of War, because that gets you the God of War sword, which is the best sword in the game. Not to mention, you can kill the God of War. We're doing that.
We have to do it for the meme.
We have to do it for the everything, especially because I'm going the warrior route. And that was the big thing I learned about Princess Maker 1 streaming that game. It is hard to go the warrior route in the first game. It is easy to go the warrior route in the second game. Just first, I almost think the first Princess Maker might be bugged, because I have no clue how I can raise her combat skill stat, other than very slowly by hunting. You'd think that sending her to martial arts school would raise her combat skill, but all it's raising is experience, and maybe at higher levels it'll raise combat skill, but you can't get to higher levels until you can beat the martial arts instructor, and I can't beat the martial arts instructor because I don't have combat skill. It's kind of BS. I sent her on adventures, and she would just curl up into a little ball and cry every time I tried to get her to fight monsters. And however they're calculating the damage in that game is stupid, because I had her attack and hit points well over 300, 350, and random kidnappers would just, shiv her once, and there goes half her health. And I'm like, they're kidnappers, though. They only have 60 hit points. Come on. And it's like, she hits them once, and then she starts crying, and then she gets stabbed twice and dies. And, doesn't die. She gets dragged back to town. But it's like,
what?
It's
what is going on here?
What is going on here? And in the end, she just became a noblewoman. I will get that stream up on the channel soon. The problem is I do have to download it because there was a nip slip in it, so I'm going to have to put a little bar over that. And then once I do that, we will put it on the channel. I made sure to check the Twitch streaming guidelines in case that happened. It is within the guidelines.
Twitch guidelines. The guidelines in which Twitch understands them less than the players do.
Yeah, it's a thing. So I'm, it is allowed. We'll fix that up for YouTube.
It will happen eventually.
We will fix that up for YouTube, and then hopefully soon I can continue my game of Princess Maker 2, move on to 3, and then play 5. And, I think between 2 and 3 I want to poke at Legend of Another World and definitely give a special presentation in the place of Princess Maker 4 to talk.
Because that was a mistake.
Well, because I want to talk about the original Princess Maker 4. Because there was a completely different game that was well in development back in 2000 that was going to be Princess Maker 4, and it never came out. And then when we finally got a Princess Maker 4 in 2005, it was a completely different game. So I kind of want to show some screenshots and information on that, Because Princess Maker 5 is pretty much the Princess Maker 4 we were supposed to get, and then some. But
It's just better overall.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Basically, the whole it taking place in modern-day Japan instead of a fantasy world thing, and Cube the Butler being able to turn into a dog-cat thing. Those were both major elements of the original Princess Maker 4. But anyway, we now have to take another break, so here's Love by Triple X Tentacion featuring Triple Red. Okay. Please enjoy here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much. That was Lost Cause by Black Pistol Fire here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, still joined by spontaneous sidekick Sully today because it was finals week.
Woohoo!
And I need to apologize. I hallucinated the Overwatch thing. I thought there was... Look, I don't pay a lot of attention to Overnight and
Overnight. Overwatch and Fortnite.
Overnight and Fortwatch, yes. See what I mean? So when I saw the announcement of the Infinity Wars event in Fortnite, I thought it was Overwatch because the thumbnail for the article had Thanos standing next to a guy that looks a lot like Genji. It was an honest mistake to make. Having said that, I still fully expect I expect an Infinity War Overnight event anyway.
Overnight did it again. Jell has a bit of a problem with Overwatch and Blizzard in general. But moving on from his goof, I believe it was, a month or two ago? We talked about Rainbow Six Siege and how its Asian capacity has skyrocketed since the Year 3 Season 1. Well, it's time to hold on to your seats because Season 2 has been announced, and we'll have 2 new operators that we know of. It seems like they're Italian secret services, which is pretty neat. But of course that was data mined, so we can't really have the best info on that. But the Season 3 is called Operation Parabellum, and it will be fully announced May 19th through 20th at the end of the Pro League.
Indeed.
But no, the 2 operators are supposed to be Italian Secret Services, and they're both defenders, apparently, which is a stark contrast to Year 3, Season 1. Not Operation Biohazard, something different. Actually, no, it might have been Operation Biohazard. But Year 3, Season 1, the past season, the current season, is 2 new attackers, Lion and I don't remember the other one because nobody plays her.
We're just combining all our words today.
Yeah, words are difficult today. It's finals week. My brain is mush.
That'll happen.
But the 2 new operators are coming out, so we'll see how that goes May 19th through the 20th when the release is mentioned.
Indeed. Moving on from that, it is worth mentioning very briefly that Game Vice is suing Nintendo for the design of the Nintendo Switch. Good luck with that. The Game Vice
No one will care.
Really, they won't. The Game Vice is a Vice-looking device for your cell phone where you put your cell phone in the middle of it and it puts, controllers on the left and right side, very similar to a Nintendo Switch, but it came out earlier. So they're like, hey, we can sue Nintendo for this. And I'm like, no, you can't, because Nintendo has, like they're actually detachable, separate controllers, not just a Vice you put a screen in the middle of. Just shut up. So we'll see how that goes. Also, I mentioned earlier, Ace of Seafood is getting a physical PS4 release from Limited Run Games. I still need to pick that thing up, though I'll probably get it on Switch. Ace of Seafood is also on Steam if you're curious. It is a laser shooting fish simulator?
What?
Yeah. You play as a fish, but you act like a spaceship, and you swim through the ocean shooting lasers at other fish and collecting their DNA in order to construct more laser shooting fish for your laser shooting fish armada.
Interesting.
Looks fun. It looks really good. I really need to sit down with that. And apparently that guy is making more laser shooting fish related games.
That's interesting to say the least.
Yeah. Moving on, I really need to say the Disgaea HD remake really reeks of laziness. Disgaea, of course, classic turn-based strategy game, loved it back on PS2, and now they're like, oh, we're going to do an HD version of it on, like, PS4 and Switch, and I think there's a PC release planned. But I'm looking at it, and the main reason I say it looks lazy is that they're using the new sprites instead of redoing the old sprites, because some of the because, of course, they've made HD Disgaea games. Disgaea 4 and 5 and D2 were all in HD, and they had very nice HD sprites, and they're just using those sprites again. The reason this is a beef with me is because a lot of the character designs were changed between Disgaea 1 and Disgaea 5, so we don't get the old character designs redone in HD, you're just using the new sprites. But on top of that, they're not making any major gameplay changes or additions or tweaks. It's still just Disgaea 1 in terms of, like, special attack animations and features. So in a lot of ways, it kind of looks like the worst of both worlds, and that makes me kind of sad. So that is a thing that is happening. Let's talk some quick fighting game. Dragon Ball FighterZ will have an update tomorrow, which will add the FighterZ Cup, which works kind of like this one weird mode that's in some of the Mortal Kombat games, where you, like, choose a faction and you earn points for them.
Oh, the faction wars?
Yeah, it's a faction war thing. And on top of that, they're adding in Party Battle, where 3 players can play cooperatively against bosses. So that sounds interesting. We'll see how that all goes over. On top of that, Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle, also starts their beta tomorrow. From May 9th to the 14th, there will be an open beta for Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle. Definitely going to need to try to poke at that, even though I have my misgivings about it. You got any more news you want to throw at our heads?
Yep, definitely. Serious video game news that probably every single news reporter and their mother has been talking about. The E3 conference is June 12th to the 14th, and the companies that will be premiering is Square Enix, Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, Ubisoft, and Bethesda are all set to have showcases at E3. There might be a few more in there that aren't confirmed yet, but it's said that Square Enix will probably talk about Kingdom Hearts, and we really don't have a clue what Nintendo's going to talk about. Probably, if anything, their online mode, but who knows? It's Nintendo, they can just pull something out at the last minute. Ubisoft and Bethesda are another real who knows at this point, because they have so many titles and IPs that nobody can really confirm what's coming next. So that's the serious side of gaming news, I guess, because that's something that everyone looks towards. And I guess Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is releasing sometime this year. They'll have the reveal event on May 17th at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. So I guess if you really care about Call of Duty at this point, tune into that. I don't know anybody who plays Call of Duty anymore.
Well, moving on, supposedly the first information on Warriors Orochi 4 was supposed to be May 10th, but they've already revealed a little bit more information just now. They apparently... we should back up on this. First of all, the good old Dynasty Warriors or Warriors series always has about 4 or 5 releases every year. And as everyone remembers...
Across multiple different IPs.
Across multiple different IPs, and Dynasty Warriors 9 was a travesty that everyone hates. Apparently it has been dropping in price like a rock, which is good, because I kind of want to poke at it a little more.
Hyrule Warriors is pretty good, though.
Hyrule Warriors is great.
Yeah,
but
that was a good game.
Very much so. That's one of the best Warriors games. But Warriors Orochi 4 was, like, very recently announced. It's going to get a worldwide release. And they were like, oh, we're going to show some information on this. And immediately it was interesting, because it's like, wait, these are Dynasty Warriors 8 designs instead of 9. And it was very funny, because, they announced it shortly after Dynasty Warriors 9 flopped. It's like, don't worry, there'll be a good Warriors game soon. Well, what we know right now is that Warriors Orochi 4 looks like it's using the Dynasty Warriors 8 designs and Samurai Warriors 4-2 designs, and it will have 170 playable characters, which is what tends to happen. Warriors Orochi is asset dump Warriors. They take all this work they already did for Dynasty Warriors 8, put it in the game. All the work we already did for Samurai Warriors 4-2, put it in the game. Then we put in some characters from the previous games, we put in some new characters, we stir it all up, 170 characters, we good. Apparently Warriors Orochi 3 had 145 characters, so that's nice. I'm really rooting for some characters from Warriors All-Stars, namely, like, the original characters from Warriors All-Stars. I quite like them. Especially like the villain chick. But anyway, I'm really hoping that we get some of them in the game. Warriors All-Stars was pretty nice. And, yeah, we will find out more soon. Let's see. In addition to new playable character reveals, Weekly Famitsu also has a look at various enhancements, including new Divine Art Action Attack method and an interview with the producer. Good. Good. Either way, I'm happy to hear that Warriors Orochi 4, it's coming out this year, too, because it doesn't take too terribly much time to develop a game based entirely on recycled assets.
Yeah. It seems like it would be a pretty easy way to make a fairly well-liked game.
Yeah. And, oh, shoot, did they say it's getting a Switch release? Yeah, okay, it should be Now, the question is how well it'll run on Switch, but yeah, supposedly it'll get a Switch release, too, so that's very good to hear. I'm just excited for this, because I sure could go for a not Dynasty Warriors 9 Dynasty Warriors game. Especially when you have 170 characters, although, cripes, I'm probably just going to use my usual team of Nene, Zhurong, and Himiko, because Himiko is horrifically broken. And then Nene and Zhurong are my favorites.
Okay, so speaking of Warriors again, Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. The release that probably everyone saw coming, but not exactly with the new heroes everyone saw coming, because you're going to have new characters such as King Rome, Toon Link, Skull Kid, Petra, Medley, and a variety of new characters to play with overall throughout Definitive Edition.
Actually, those aren't new.
Well, they're new to the people who played it on Wii U.
Actually, they're not.
They pretty much are.
Kinda.
Kinda. It was mainly on 3DS that those ones appeared.
No, but this was the thing. Okay. For anyone who hadn't been paying attention to this, Hyrule Warriors came out on Wii U, and then they released another version on 3DS, and they started adding in new characters. But they had a feature where if you link your 3DS version with your Wii U version, you can download those characters to the Wii U version.
So people without a 3DS didn't know about these characters, but those that did.
Yes, exactly. And more importantly, that means we're getting all the 3DS features, which means fairy dress-up mode. I was excited about that, but I never really sat down with my copy of the 3DS game because I didn't really want to play it on 3DS. So I am excited about. There is some kind of mode in the 3DS game where you get a fairy and you collect clothing for it, and they help you in battle. And I don't know all the details, but there's a fairy dress-up mode, and I find that to be a very important mode to Hyrule Warriors. Shut up.
You know the game all about fighting? Nah. Fairy dress-up mode. Fairy dress-up warriors.
Fairy dress-up warriors. The best warriors.
That's Gel's next 3-hour stream, is just dressing up a fairy.
More likely than you think. If my money wasn't already tied up, I totally would. I have a convention coming up. I'm going to Anime Central in Chicago, and that's a pricey trip. And when I get back from that, maybe I'll pick up Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, but I have to save all the money I can.
And the cool thing is it should be Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition is compatible with Breath of the Wild amiibos. So,
cool.
So we should be getting new skins for Link.
I think that was already confirmed.
Well, it's been
Let's
confirmed.
double-check.
It's been confirmed for a while.
Yeah.
But it's just a restatement. New skins from the new game. So
Yeah.
it should be pretty good.
Yep.
It's probably something that I'll pick up probably a bit later down the road. Once Hollow Knight comes out, probably. So, right now in the station, Jill's looking at a picture of Fairy Dress-Up mode.
Yes, the Fairy...
And he's too excited.
I am, because it looks like they've enhanced it drastically. Cripes, there are a lot of costume parts for Fairy Dress-Up mode. And I'm noticing that there's, like, a personality chart. I never played this mode. You can increase their sparkliness. There's a sparkly stat. Sparkly, valiant, friendly, shrewd, and smiley.
It's like, Nintendo, we don't get what you're doing over half the time, but you have created something amazing.
Yeah, and wow, it is different, because here's a side-by-side. The 3DS one, it just used like a 2D image of the fairy. Now they're actually full 3D models. They have put effort into Fairy Dress-Up mode, the likes of which I did not expect. It is getting harder and harder to resist this game. Although, this actually raises a really good question about Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. Because there were a lot of really great characters added in Breath of the Wild. So, you think they might
maybe DLC characters.
Maybe DLC characters might be a good idea. That looks like a good idea. I don't even know what her name is, but...
Mifa?
There we go, thank you. Yeah, that needs to be in the game. That needs to be in the game, and
AKA Zora waifu.
Yeah, and that guy needs to be in...
Rivali.
Wow, he just looks like Falco. I did not play a lot of Breath of the Wild, but it has some great characters. And also, if you have not been playing the 3DS Hyrule Warriors, the girl Marin from Link's Awakening was added to the game. I guess she fights with a bell.
Yeah, I saw that. I was really confused. Actually, the biggest character I'm confused about is Linkle, but that...
Linkle seems pretty awesome, although the funniest thing with Linkle is I know where her moveset came from. That was, like, because she uses a crossbow, and it is almost identical to the moves from one of the characters in Fist of the North Star Warriors. Fist of the North Star Ken's Rage. The one girl in that game uses a crossbow as well and has a very, very, very similar moveset.
I just want to play as Skull Kid because he wears the Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
That's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, that was the main one I had to ask you about, because Skull Kid was like the first one they announced as one of the 3DS characters or one of the DLC characters. I just remember Skull Kid being a very early addition, because a bunch of people were expecting Skull Kid and he didn't make it in the initial cut. Okay,
so one interesting one that I don't remember if this was on 3DS or not is Ocarina of Time Link with his... No, that was one. That was definitely one that was on there.
The Ocarina of Time Link
was Wii U too, wasn't it?
That was the pre-order DLC.
There we go.
Yeah.
So all of those people who weren't able to get it on the pre-order will get this... it's probably my favorite character. I've seen gameplay of Ocarina of Time / Majora's Mask Link, and that was one I was really excited about, simply for that fierce deity mask, because Majora's Mask is probably my second favorite Legend of Zelda game, comparable only to Link to the Past, which I think is still the best Legend of Zelda game. Ocarina of Time players can argue with me all day on that.
Yeah, I think. Me and Zelda have a weird relationship. Basically, I like the older ones way better because eventually the games became way too linear and puzzle-based, which was why I was this close to loving Breath of the Wild. Like, Breath of the Wild did everything I really wanted them to do with the Zelda game, and it made me really happy, but it is really true that the weapon durability system is a mess. It was really a bad idea.
It's not bad enough to warrant calling it not that good, though. I found that really enjoyable, and I know several people...
A lot of people...
Who've just set challenges for themselves in the game. They're not allowed to teleport. They're not allowed to do basically anything that makes the game easy.
Oh, yeah, no, well, just go straight to Ganon. That's the best challenge. I watched someone do that where they started the game, and the moment they could go to Ganon, they went straight to Ganon, which meant they were being one-shotted by everything. They had to parry all the attacks because they died instantly.
It's so good.
They still did it, and that was their first playthrough. They had not played the game yet, because they weren't that big of a Zelda fan. They're like, wait, I could just skip straight to the end? I'm up for the challenge.
No, you're not.
They were. They beat Ganon. They skipped the game. They were just like, nope. Hey, Ganon. Woo, parries.
Do you know how hard it is to do 100% runs in that game?
Probably ridiculously hard.
Considering there are 993, I want to say, hidden core rocks across the land.
Yeah.
And they're kind of vague about locations in the complete guidebook that you can get. Yeah. It takes a while to get 100% playthroughs. But, boy, is it satisfying.
Indeed. All right, we need to take a quick break. So here is Breathe by Through Fire here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. Please stay tuned for at least a little bit more GameBabble Live, and thank you. That was Something Tells Me by Bryson Tiller here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, surprisingly still joined by spontaneous sidekick Sully.
We went over this. It's finals week. Hooray.
And this is GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday, except for next Tuesday, from noon to 3 p.m. Yeah, we'll be out of town next Tuesday, so not a lot I can do about that. But we can continue talking about video games. We are wrapping up the show, but I really do have to talk about Fighting EX Layer. And this game it's hurting me. Because if you're unfamiliar with it, way back in the 90s, they made a 3D Street Fighter game called Street Fighter EX. And it had, some original characters, and of course Street Fighter characters. It was in 3D, but kind of not. And people gave it crap back then, but over time people have warmed up to it and realized Street Fighter EX 1 and 2 were actually really good fighting games. And the original characters were actually pretty nice. Well, the original developers said, hey, how about we make Street Fighter EX minus the Street Fighter? And so they made Fighting EX Layer, a game they've been trying to get out for a while now. There was like a 3DS prototype for a while. And as an April Fool's joke last year, they showed a early version of the game, and, the idea was it wasn't a real game, but it was completely playable, and they streamed it for, hours. And people were like, what the heck, why would you make this and not make it a real game? And they were like, well, we wanted to drum up hype for it. We were using this bizarre April Fool's joke as a way of getting people interested. And I'm like, cool, well, I'm interested. Go release the game. And they said, yeah, we're going to make it a downloadable game. It's going to be super cool. And they've been working on it ever since. And then on April Fool's this year, they released a big update, and they're like, yeah, this game's coming very soon. And
April Fools.
Well, no, it's still coming very soon. They have outright said that they're not adding any more characters because they're out of money to do so. And they announced...
At least they're honest.
Oh, yeah. And they announced the prices for it, and this is where I get a little iffy. See, when it comes to the Street Fighter EX series, I play the games because of two characters, Perna and Area. And in that April Fool's trailer, they showed 4 characters that did not make the cut, but they said, hey, if we don't have any more money to add characters, but if this game sells well enough, we'll add Perna, Area, Volcano, Rosso, and Vanessa. And I'm like, okay, cool, I'll go all in, I'll support the game. And then I see the price of the game, which unfortunately I can't say on the air. But there is a light version, and there is a full version. The only difference between the light and the full version is that the full version costs 1/3 more and comes with 10 more Gogi decks. And I'm like, what? And, like, the game only has, like, 12 characters, and I don't really care about any of them. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, this is way too expensive for what you're charging. And what's more, there aren't really any characters I care about in this game. You're holding the 2 characters I care about for ransom, even though the comments section of every single video has been, where's Blair Dame, where's Perna? Well, Blair Dame is in the game, but Perna, one of the central characters of the Street Fighter EX series, she might come maybe later if the game sells well enough. And as much as I want to support the game and, like, and all that, the fact that they're charging so much money makes me say no, and it puts me between a rock and a hard place, because I absolutely won't get what I want out of this game unless, I contribute and buy all the DLC and the full version of the game and this, that, and the other thing. And even then, that doesn't guarantee that I'm really going to get the thing that I want. So I could be paying an exorbitant amount of money to buy a game that I do not care about playing because it doesn't have my characters in it. And there's no guarantee that my characters will ever come. And even if the game does start making money, there's no guarantee that the DLC characters they decide to bring in will be the ones that I want, because they could focus on Volcano, Rosso, and Vanessa instead. And so it's just too dang expensive, on top of the fact that I'm starting to think the Gogi system was a terrible idea. Because it really does just look like the gems from Street Fighter Cross Tekken, which, by the way, were the thing that tanked Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Admittedly, the Gogi system is a little smidge bit better than that, because Street Fighter Cross Tekken had way too many gems, and there were exclusive gems and pre-order only gems and DLC gems, and this is just DLC pre-made decks. But even still, the Gogi system